No one can stay in space, so how do astronauts go there? Newton's first law in space applies, according to which an object remains constant or moves with a uniform velocity unless an external force is applied to it. Since there is no obstruction in space such as air or gravity, nothing can stop there by itself. This is also a challenge for astronauts. Well, here we will talk about these things and see why this is being said. Friends, today's video is going to be much more interesting and informative. That's why you will definitely share this video as much as possible and reach many people, so that more and more people will know about it. Apart from this, you are also requested to watch the video from beginning to end. If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe. No one can stay in space, so how do astronauts go there? Newton's first law in space applies, according to which an object remains constant or moves with a uniform velocity unless an external force is applied to it. Since there is no obstruction in space such as air or gravity, nothing can stop there by itself. This is also a challenge for astronauts. Now the question is how astronauts move in space. One use of thrusters with spacesuits. Spacesuits have small thrusters, called safers. These thrusters release the gas out, generating a reaction force. With the help of this force, astronauts can control their direction. If they want to move in one direction, they release the gas in the opposite direction. Two handholds and footholds. Handholds and footholds are installed to work outside the International Space Station, ISS. Astronauts hold them and move slowly or keep their place. 3. Use of tether. In space, if astronauts are working outside, they tie themselves to the station or spacecraft with a tether, a strong rope-like device of cloth. With this, they are not able to go away and remain in their place. 4. Propellant pistols, MMU. Until recently, astronauts also used a device called the maneuvering unit, which was mounted on their backs and worked on the principle of jet propulsion. This allowed them to freely move in all 4 directions. Thus, moving or changing direction in space is actually a carefully planned effort, made possible using Newton's laws of motion and various instruments. Newton's laws of motion in space have special implications, notably Newton's third law, which states that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Astronauts take advantage of this law to change their speed and direction. Let's also look at some other aspects. 1. Internal navigation. Astronauts move by pushing their bodies inside the space station, such as the ISS. They can change direction with the help of walls or gripping handles, using surfaces. They have to gently push the surface lightly so that they can move without expending much energy. Because there is no force of friction, once pushed they will automatically continue in that direction until something else stops them. 2. Spin and rotation control. It is also important to maintain the balance of the body in space. If astronauts start spinning in one direction, they can balance it by moving their bodies in another direction. This can be called gyroscopic control. This method is especially useful in small or closed spaces, where thrusters cannot be used. 3. Taking care of direction and velocity in space. Astronauts are fully alert when working outside the space station that they are going in which direction. If they want to change their direction, they have to work very precisely. Even a small thrust can take them over great distances. Therefore, both astronauts and mission control keep a good track of every step. 4. Special equipment and vehicles. NASA and other space agencies also offer robotic arms and maneuverable devices. These robotic arms are like very large hands that are attached outside the space station and can hold astronauts or carry them from one place to another. One example is Canadarm, which Canada created for NASA and is used to move cargo and astronauts to the International Space Station. 5. Free-floating performance. Astronauts also practice free-floating in their tasks, where they float in space for a few moments without the aid of any instruments. For this, they keep their body balance and their every movement under control. In doing so, they learn how direction and motion can be controlled with very little force. 6. Use of gyroscopes. Large space stations have gyroscopes, which help them to remain in place. Gyroscopes are a special type of instrument that uses rotational momentum, which helps the space station maintain its direction. 7. Communication and commands in space. While making any movement in space, communication with mission control is maintained. Mission control gives precise instructions to the astronauts for every direction and speed and monitors their every move so that no untoward incident happens. Controlling any kind of activity in space is truly a scientific and technological miracle. Stepping into space is like working in an environment without air and without gravity, in which every step has to be taken with full preparation and care. There are many more interesting aspects of traveling and working in space. Let us talk about some more aspects of spending time in space and adapting to the environment there. 1. Effects of microgravity. Space has almost zero gravity, or microgravity, which has many effects on our bodies. For example, 1. Bones and muscles. Without gravity, bones and muscles become weak because they do not have to work as much. Astronauts have to do special types of exercises every day so that their muscles and bones remain strong. 2. Fluid shift. Due to lack of gravity, blood and other fluids in the body move upwards. Because of this, there can be swelling on the face and there can also be a headache. This is called fluid shift. 2. Sleeping in space. Sleeping without gravity is a challenge. Astronauts tie themselves to the walls of the space station or in a sleeping bag so that they do not float. There is also no day and night cycle in space because the station makes one revolution around the Earth every 90 minutes. In such a situation, astronauts follow an artificial day-night so that their body clock is balanced. 3. Preparations for spacewalk. EVA, extravehicular activity. Doing a spacewalk is a challenging task, and it requires intensive training and preparation for astronauts. Before a spacewalk, astronauts go to a special room called an airlock. Through airlock, they go into space outside the space station. For this, they have to take care of their breath speed and energy, because their energy and oxygen are limited during the spacewalk. 4. Management of food and water. Management of food and water in space is very important. There are food packets prepared in a special way for food that can be eaten without gravity. The water is kept in special bags, and astronauts use a tube to drink. Every drop of water is important, so water is also recycled on the space station, including things like sweat and urine. 5. Maintenance of the environment inside the spacecraft. There is no Earth-like air inside the spacecraft, so there are special systems to maintain the atmosphere there. These systems remove carbon dioxide, moisture, and other harmful gases and transmit oxygen. This keeps the environment inside the vehicle breathable and safe. 6. Psychological challenges. Being away from the Earth for a long time, locked up in small spaces, and away from the natural sights of the Earth is a mental challenge. Astronauts are regularly supported by counseling sessions, yoga, meditation, and means of entertainment to maintain mental balance in space. Also, they can use features like video calls to stay in touch with their family and friends. 7. Daily work in zero gravity. Simple tasks such as washing hair, brushing teeth, or changing clothes also have to be done differently in the space. Instead of using water to wash hair, a special, no-rinse shampoo is used. After brushing the teeth, toothpaste has to be swallowed as water cannot be wasted. Clothes are also not changed frequently because facilities like laundry are not available there. 8. Space research and experiments. In the space station, astronauts do many types of science, medicine, and technological experiments, which cannot be done on Earth. Biological and chemical processes occur differently in environments of microgravity, making new types of scientific observations possible. For example, many experiments are conducted in space for stem cell research, food production, and cancer treatment. 9. Importance and features of space suit. A space suit is like a small, mobile space station that protects astronauts in an environment without extreme cold, heat, radiation, and wind. Space suits have heating and cooling systems, oxygen supply, and communication systems. Also, The helmet of the suit is designed in a special way so that the astronaut can see clearly and protect their eyes from the sun's strong light. 10 life-saving practices and emergency plans. Astronauts regularly conduct life-saving exercises for the event of any emergency in space. This includes being prepared for situations such as fire, gas leak, or astronauts being away from the space station. In such a situation, there is an emergency system in the spacecraft to return, so that the astronauts can come back safely. Life in space is like an exciting journey, with many unique challenges. Astronauts learn new things every moment and bring new information to us by facing these challenges. This is truly a wonderful example of science and human resolve. There are more interesting things about life in space that you might want to know about. Let us understand these aspects in more detail. 1. Dealing with temperature fluctuations in space. The temperature in space changes very rapidly. When astronauts are directly exposed to the sun's rays, the temperature can reach 120 degrees Celsius, and when they are in the shade, it can drop to minus 150 degrees Celsius. The spacesuit has a special thermal control system to control the temperature, which keeps the temperature favorable to the body. For this reason, wearing a spacesuit also requires intense training. 2. Threat of orbital debris. There are millions of tiny particles and debris orbiting the Earth, including old rocket parts, broken satellites, and other small particles. These debris travel at extremely high speeds and can be a big threat to any spacecraft or astronaut. Space stations and spacesuits are made of strong materials to keep them safe from debris collisions. 3. Waste management. The disposal of garbage and waste materials in space is also very important. Every drop of water in space matters, so wastewater is recycled. Urine is also recycled and converted into water, which is made fit for drinking. Solid waste materials are kept in special containers, which are destroyed by burning when returning to Earth. 4. Effect of radiation in space. Our atmosphere on Earth protects us from harmful radiations coming from the sun, but there is no such protective shield in space. Because of this, astronauts are exposed to too much radiation, which can have a negative effect on their health. Exposure to radiation for a long time can increase the risk of cancer and other diseases. Astronauts use special shields on the space station to reduce this and adopt measures to avoid radiation. 5. Resolution of medical emergency. If an astronaut in space has a health problem, immediate help cannot be available. Therefore, astronauts are also given medical training so that they can treat themselves in an emergency. The spacecraft carries a small medical kit that includes painkillers, bandages, and first aid. Also, doctors on Earth can also assist through video calls if needed. 6. Maintaining emotional balance. Being confined for months in a small space in space can be mentally challenging. It is natural to be away from the Earth, miss family and friends, and feel lonely here. It is very important for astronauts to take care of psychological health. So they have regular means of entertainment such as listening to music, reading books, and photographing the Earth. They can also make video calls with their family. 7. Space gardening. Astronauts cannot always depend on food sent from Earth for food and drink. For this reason, scientists are also working on growing plants in space gardening or microgravity. There are experiments to grow plants on the space station, such as lettuce leaves, spinach, and tomatoes. Plants not only serve as a source of food, but they also generate oxygen, which helps in keeping the atmosphere pure. 8. In-depth scientific studies and experiments. Astronauts in space conduct many scientific experiments that cannot be done on Earth. These include the study of body behavior in zero gravity, testing medicines, developing new technologies, and testing biological processes. These experiments lead to new discoveries in the fields of science and medicine on Earth. 9. Different effects of time in space. One unique thing is that time passes differently in space. According to Albert Einstein's theory of relativity, time slows down when traveling at a very high speed. For astronauts, who are traveling at high speeds around the Earth, time passes a little slower. This is called time dilation. Although this effect is very small for astronauts, it is a real example of relativity. 10. Preparation for upcoming missions. Currently, space agencies such as NASA, ESA, and ISRO are planning manned missions towards destinations such as Moon and Mars. In this perspective, it becomes important to conduct research into space survival, managing energy and food, and microgravity. These experiences increase humanity's knowledge and help in making future space missions successful. 11. Effect of entry and re-entry. While returning to Earth from space, the astronaut has to re-enter the Earth's atmosphere. During this time, their vehicle passes rapidly through the Earth's atmosphere and high temperatures are generated due to excessive friction. Therefore, the vehicle is covered with a special type of heat shield. Also, when astronauts return to Earth, their body suddenly encounters gravity, which may cause them to experience fatigue and muscle weakness a few days. 12. Resorting to robotic and artificial intelligence. Nowadays, the use of robotic systems and artificial intelligence, AI, in space is also increasing. Astronauts carry robots that can help them with repairs, research, and inspections. This gives astronauts protection and also increases their efficiency. AI-based systems can analyze data, coordinate with mission control, and simplify complex tasks for astronauts. It is clear from all these aspects of life in space that space travel is not just a test of technical prowess, but it is also a wonderful example of human grit, courage, and understanding of science. Every space mission uncovers new mysteries and opens up new avenues for humanity. There are many more wonderful things about life in space and its various aspects. These sayings are not only exciting, but also reflect humanity's perseverance and scientific advancement. Let us look at these aspects in more depth. 1. Physiological changes in microgravity. Prolonged periods of time in space cause changes in several parts of the body. 1. Effect on vision. Fluids in space slide upwards, increasing the pressure on the eyes. Because of this, some astronauts experience changes in vision, which is called spaceflight-associated neuroocular syndrome, SANS. 2. Changing the shape of the heart. Due to the lack of gravity in space, the heart has to work less hard to pump blood. This can cause the heart to become slightly rounded in shape, and it may take time to regenerate after returning to Earth. 2. Space sneeze in zero gravity. There is no dust or dirt in space, but due to zero gravity, things coming out of the body start floating easily. If someone sneezes, the sneeze particles can float around. For this reason, astronauts sneeze carefully and usually cover their heads with a cloth or hand so that the particles do not spread. 3. Construction and operation of space station. The International Space Station, ISS, is a scientific marvel in itself. It is made by many countries together, and it revolves around the Earth at a speed of about 28,000 kilometers per hour. It orbits the Earth every 90 minutes. The atmosphere inside the space station is controlled very carefully so that it feels like Earth. Everything has to be accounted for here, whether it is the amount of oxygen or the level of carbon dioxide. 4. Radio communication for safe contact. Radio is the only contact of astronauts in space. They communicate via radio signals with mission control on Earth. It takes a few seconds for the message from Earth to reach places like the space station or the Moon. However, on distant planets like Mars, these times increase, and there can be a difference of minutes in sending and receiving signals. For this reason, artificial intelligence can also be supported in future missions so that by the time the message is reached, AI can make decisions automatically. 5. Smell perception in space. It may sound strange, but when coming from outside in space, a strange, metallic smell is felt on the exterior of the space suit, which some astronauts have described as a burnt steak or a gunpowder smell. Scientists believe that this smell is caused by the oxidation of ionized particles present in space that stick to the suit. 6. Private time and humor in space. Laughter and stress-free time are very important in the life of astronauts. They watch movies, listen to music, and even play floating games in space. Fun games like zero-gravity football are played where objects float. Festivals like Christmas or New Year are also celebrated, and crew members prepare small gifts and messages for each other. 7. Pollination and growth of plants in space. Many experiments are conducted to learn a lot about plant growth in microgravity. Scientists noticed that plants in space grow in all directions instead of moving towards the ground. In microgravity, the transmission of water and the process of moving towards the roots also changes. These experiments can give us important information about growing crops on other planets in the future. 8. Robotic exploration and space artificial intelligence. As manned missions prepare to go to deep space, so is the use of robotic systems and artificial intelligence. For example, the robot Robonaut was sent to help astronauts on the ISS. Such robots can help in repairs, inspections, and scientific experiments. In the future, there are plans to send robots to Mars that will create conditions for humans. 9. Documentation and photographing in space. Astronauts take a lot of photographs, which are a source of study for scientists on Earth. Through these photographs, changes such as weather changes, expansion of seas, and deforestation can be seen. Also, astronauts also make video diaries of their missions so that they can share their experiences. These videos are used to raise awareness of life in space. 10. Dream of interstellar travel and deep space travel. Scientists are currently working on new technologies for deep space travel. Under this, technologies such as nuclear thermal propulsion and solar cells are being developed which can help in going deep space at greater speed. Interstellar travel, i.e. reaching stars outside our solar system, is also being dreamed of, although this will require a lot of advanced technology. 11. The limits of human life and the infinite possibilities in space. The infinite expanse of space and the difficulties here are a challenge for human life, but it also inspires us to move forward. As we advance in technological and scientific research, we are getting even closer to colonizing new planets, finding signs of alien life, and understanding the deepest mysteries of the universe. 12. Space ethics and environment. With going into space, the question of a new kind of ethics also arises. The use of space should only be in the interest of humanity, and measures should be taken to reduce any kind of space waste, debris. Space responsibility is being discussed around the world so that we can keep it safe and sustainable. Space is not just a boundless expanse spread around us, but it can also become the possibility of a new life for humanity in the future. Each discovery here helps us understand not only our solar system, but also the mysteries of the universe. The main purpose of these discoveries and missions is to understand where we have come from, who we are, and what our role is in this vast universe. These space missions offer humanity new perspectives about the future and new opportunities. If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe.